What if the greatest threat to your peace wasn't obvious at all, but hidden behind smiles, silence, and subtle glances? What if manipulation wasn't a loud attack, but a quiet distortion of your reality? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And that's exactly how manipulators work. Not through force, but through psychic sleight of hand. They infiltrate your perception. They make you doubt what you know, feel what they want, and bend until you forget your shape. This isn't just emotional manipulation, it's spiritual fragmentation. But you can break free. In this video, we reveal 8 chilling signs someone is trying to manipulate you, each rooted in Jungian psychology and energetic awareness. These aren't just tips. They are tools for soul defense, and once you recognize the signs, the spell is broken. At first glance, charm feels like a gift, a warm smile, kind words, and magnetic energy that pulls you in. But according to Carl Jung, not all light is divine. Some brightness blinds us to what's lurking beneath. The manipulator often wears a charm-laced mask, not to connect, but to disarm. It's a psychological cloak, soft enough to make you trust, shiny enough to distract your intuition. Jung taught that we must always question what dazzles us too quickly, for it might be the ego's attempt to bypass the shadow. A manipulative person uses charm not as an expression of love, but as a calculated strategy. They mirror your desires, echo your values, and speak in tones you crave to hear. They're not relating to your soul. They're studying your openings. This performance is designed to bypass your energetic defenses. It's a seduction of safety, one that subtly rewires your sense of trust. And by the time suspicion arises, your emotional circuitry is already entangled. Jung warned that the persona, the social mask, becomes dangerous when it's used to deceive. And manipulators are masters of personas. Their outward warmth is often in direct opposition to their internal intent. The disconnect between outer charm and inner motive creates a vibrational incoherence, but unless you're tuned into frequency rather than appearance, you'll miss it. Charm, in this context, is the bait that hooks your psyche. Energetically, it feels like a pull, a gravitational tug that seems flattering but leaves you slightly disoriented. Your gut may twitch, your heart may hesitate. But if you've been conditioned to prioritize politeness over perception, you might override those signals. This is where the real manipulation begins, not in their actions, but in your own self-betrayal. Jung often emphasized self-awareness as the only true defense. So how do you see through the charm veil? You slow down. You listen not just to words, but to energy. You ask, does their presence make me feel seen, or studied, uplifted, or hooked? When you decode charm as a tactic rather than a trait, the mask slips. And when the mask slips, so does their power over your mind. Guilt is a natural emotion, a signal from the psyche that something within us needs attention or reconciliation. But manipulators know how to hijack this internal compass. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious can be used as both sanctuary and snare, and in the hands of someone skilled in psychological distortion, your empathy becomes a lever they pull at will. Guilt planting is subtle, but it leaves deep roots that entangle your identity, decisions, and self-worth. A manipulator doesn't overtly accuse you. That would be too obvious. Instead, they hint, they sigh, they use silence as a mirror, hoping you'll project your own self-doubt onto their stillness. They twist your kindness into a kind of currency, and suddenly, love becomes a debt. You begin to feel responsible for their moods, their disappointments, even their failures. And once that seed is planted, they rarely need to water it. You do it for them, every time you silence your truth to avoid hurting them. Jung's concept of the shadow is essential here. Manipulators externalize their own buried guilt by making others carry it. They can't face their inner chaos, so they assign it to you. It's an energetic transfer, a subconscious exchange, and unless you're radically self-aware, you'll think those heavy feelings are yours, but they're not. They're projections wrapped in guilt scripts, passed down like emotional inheritance. This tactic preys on the sensitive, on the heart-centered, on those who were conditioned, perhaps in childhood, to equate love with sacrifice. And that's the great tragedy of guilt planting. It targets your highest traits: compassion, care, and conscience. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires reclaiming your emotional boundaries. Guilt, when manipulated, becomes a fog. But clarity returns the moment you realize you are not responsible for someone else's inner work. The way out. Ask yourself, is this guilt clean or contaminated? Is it born from my conscience or from their conditioning? Once you recognize the pattern, the spell breaks, and in that moment you begin to take your empathy back, not to withhold it, but to protect it from misuse. Gaslighting is psychological warfare disguised as dialogue. It's not just lying, it's reprogramming. A manipulator doesn't merely deny what happened, they deny your perception of what happened, and in doing so, they begin to rewrite the very architecture of your reality. Carl Jung would say this is an assault on the psyche's inner compass, the sacred space where truth and intuition reside. It often begins small. A comment denied, a memory questioned. You're too sensitive. That's not how it happened. And the manipulator plants seeds of doubt, not just in what you saw or heard, but in who you are. And those seeds grow in silence. They corrode confidence. You start checking yourself before speaking, apologizing before thinking. And slowly, the inner voice that once guided you, your intuition, begins to go quiet. Jung emphasized the importance of the inner witness, the observer within that knows what's true, even when the world distorts it. Gaslighting is a direct attack on that witness. It fractures the self into confusion. You begin living in two realities, one that feels true inside you, and one that you're pressured to accept outside you. This is where energetic fragmentation begins. You become alien to your own experience. What makes gaslighting so sinister is that it's invisible. There's no obvious bruise, no loud insult, just 1,000 micro-denials that dissolve your self-trust over time. And the manipulator? They remain calm, collected, even concerned. They may claim to love you, but real love doesn't ask you to abandon your reality for someone else's version of it. Real love honors perception, even when it's uncomfortable. To break free, you must become fiercely loyal to your inner world. Keep a journal. Document what's said and done. Speak your truth aloud, even if only to yourself at first. Jung believed that healing requires reclaiming the split-off parts of the psyche. In the case of gaslighting, it's your voice, your clarity, your sovereignty. And once you reawaken that inner witness, no one can warp your reality again. The archetype of the martyr is ancient, woven into religious texts, mythologies, and moral stories. But Carl Jung warned us, every archetype has a shadow. And when someone clings to victimhood as an identity rather than a phase, it becomes a potent tool of control. This isn't about genuine suffering, it's about performance. The manipulative martyr suffers strategically, using their pain as leverage to extract loyalty, guilt, and silence. They don't ask directly, that would expose the game. Instead, they suffer loudly enough that you feel compelled to act. They share their burdens like currency, and every gesture of support you offer becomes a binding contract. After all I've done for you, I guess I just care more than anyone else. These phrases aren't cries for help, they're veiled demands. Underneath them lies a trade, your freedom for their validation. Jungian psychology views this as a shadow distortion of the caregiver and the wounded healer. Instead of integrating their pain, the martyr projects it outward, seeking unconscious redemption through control. They need someone to carry the burden, and if you're empathetic, you'll likely volunteer without realizing. Over time, their perpetual suffering becomes a gravitational pull. You start minimizing your needs, quieting your joy, walking on eggshells around their fragility. Energetically, it feels like quicksand. Every attempt to uplift the dynamic gets pulled back into the narrative of poor me. If you succeed, they feel abandoned. If you set boundaries, you're accused of betrayal. This is emotional hostage-taking, and the ransom is your light. But here's the awakening. Suffering doesn't make someone virtuous. Integration does. Jung believed the true healer is the one who learns from pain, not the one who weaponizes it. To disarm the martyr's manipulation, you must reclaim your sovereignty without guilt. It's okay to say, your pain is real, but it's not my responsibility to fix. That isn't coldness, it's clarity, and clarity is the medicine that breaks the spell of codependency. Once you see through the performance, the emotional strings they've tied to you begin to dissolve. Carl Jung once said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But manipulators use the opposite approach. Instead of facing their own darkness, they cast it onto you. This is projection, and when used manipulatively, it becomes psychological warfare. They accuse you of what they feel. They point to your flaws to avoid facing their own. Their inner chaos becomes your external conflict. It often begins with subtle accusations. You're so selfish, you're too controlling, you're always angry. And at first, you might pause and wonder, am I? That moment of self-questioning is where the hook lands. But what's really happening is this. They're offloading emotional responsibility, their shame, their fear, their guilt. Instead of processing it internally, they assign it to you. In Jungian terms, their shadow becomes your burden. This projection serves a dual purpose. It protects their ego from collapse by externalizing what they can't accept, and it destabilizes you, making you doubt your own integrity. Over time, you start apologizing for things you didn't do, regulating your emotions to avoid being mischaracterized, and walking a tightrope of self-editing. This is how projection mutates into control. They stay safe, you stay confused. But Jung believed that projection is the psyche's cry for wholeness. When someone projects onto you, they're unconsciously revealing what they're not yet ready to own. That insight alone is powerful. It helps you shift from "why are they blaming me?" to "what are they avoiding within themselves?" This shift turns you from a target into an observer, and observation is the first act of liberation. To protect yourself, practice radical self-honesty. Own what's yours and return what isn't. Ask yourself, does this criticism resonate with my truth, or is it theirs seeking a host? Write it down, speak it aloud, because once you stop carrying someone else's shadow, you begin reclaiming your own light. And in doing so, you become immune to their projection games. Help can heal, or it can hijack. When someone offers assistance with strings attached, you're not being supported, you're being subdued. Carl Jung understood this distortion well. He referred to it as the inflated ego masquerading as benevolence. The manipulative savior doesn't help to uplift, they help to own. Their generosity is a contract you didn't agree to, a silent debt that accumulates with every favor. At first, it feels flattering. They step in, solve problems, anticipate your needs, but soon you notice the undertones. Their help comes with control. Their solutions come with surveillance. Where would you be without me if it weren't for everything I've done? These phrases aren't support. They're subtle forms of energetic dominance. It's a rescue mission wrapped in ego, not empathy. The savior complex often hides in those who fear irrelevance. Helping others becomes their identity. And if you don't need them, they feel invisible. So they keep you slightly off balance, slightly dependent. And if you try to step into your power, they subtly sabotage it, not out of malice, but out of fear. Jung would call this a failure to individuate. They haven't developed a sense of self outside their role as the rescuer. Energetically, this feels heavy. You may feel grateful and guilty at the same time, empowered yet restrained. That's the paradox of manipulative help. It gives and takes simultaneously, and if you challenge it, you're often made to feel ungrateful or unworthy. This binds you to them through shame, not connection. To reclaim your autonomy, you must separate help from hook. True support empowers you to stand on your own. False support keeps you leaning. Ask yourself, does this person help me to grow, or keep me needing them? That question alone can pierce the illusion. Jung taught that real healing is self-directed, and once you realize you never needed saving, only remembering, you dissolve the illusion of the savior entirely. Some manipulation doesn't scream, it whispers through absence. Withholding, the act of deliberately denying affection, attention, or communication, is a weapon that cuts through the psyche without leaving a visible scar. Carl Jung saw silence not just as a lack of words, but as a potent symbol in the unconscious. When someone withholds as a form of punishment or power, they create a psychological vacuum, and into that emptiness, your mind starts to spiral. The manipulator won't tell you what's wrong. They'll let you guess. They pull back affection just enough that you feel its loss but not its cause. Suddenly, you're analyzing every interaction, replaying every word. This is energetic control. They stay emotionally distant, and you become hyper-vigilant, seeking to restore the connection, often by betraying your own boundaries just to earn their warmth back. Jung might call this the shadow of the communicator archetype, someone who appears emotionally evolved, but uses silence as a control mechanism. It's not conflict avoidance. It's power preservation. They stay quiet, not to reflect, but to destabilize. Their silence becomes a mirror, not of truth, but of your own insecurities, magnified and weaponized. Energetically, it feels cold, not peaceful, not still, but frozen. You reach out and receive nothing. This evokes ancient emotional wounds, often rooted in childhood attachment trauma. You begin to equate connection with performance. If I just do better, they'll come back. But that's the trap. They're not silent because you did something wrong. They're silent because it keeps you chasing. To break this pattern, reclaim your right to clarity. Don't beg for communication. State your truth. Jung taught that individuation is the path to inner authority. In the face of emotional withholding, your power lies in presence. In choosing not to dance for someone else's approval, you become the anchor they can no longer pull away from. And that, paradoxically, ends their silent control. The deepest form of manipulation is not external, it's internal. It's when someone doesn't just influence your choices, but fractures your sense of self. Carl Jung warned of this danger through his work on psychic fragmentation. When manipulators subtly attack your identity, beliefs, and confidence over time, they aren't just trying to win, they're trying to own the version of you that remains after they've dismantled the rest. It begins with small contradictions, praising you, then belittling you, encouraging your dreams, then mocking them. You start to question which version of yourself is real, the empowered one or the broken one they keep showing you. This psychological whiplash splits your inner world. It's a form of soul erosion, a methodical grinding down of your wholeness until you look to them for who you are. This is not an accident, it's a design. The manipulator wants you dependent. If they can confuse your intuition, cloud your self-image, and interrupt your internal narrative, you become programmable. Jung would say, your ego is no longer in dialogue with the self. It's in survival mode. And when the psyche is in survival, it can't individuate, it can't evolve, it clings. And that's exactly what the manipulator wants. Energetically, this feels like being disconnected from your core. You say things you don't mean. You feel emotions that aren't yours. You watch yourself from the outside, unsure who's living your life. That's the signal. You're not living, you're reacting, and reaction is the terrain of manipulation. They keep you spinning so you forget you have wings. But here's the truth. The fragmented self can always be recalled. Through journaling, meditation, breathwork, or therapy, you begin to stitch the soul back together. You name what was unnamed, you feel what was suppressed, and you remember you were never broken, only buried under someone else's story. Jung's path of individuation is the sacred revolt. The moment you stop being the manipulated and start becoming the master of your own inner reality. Manipulation thrives in unconsciousness, but the moment you see it, it loses its grip. Every sign you've now uncovered is a map, not just to protect yourself from others, but to reclaim the fragments of self that were once handed away. Carl Jung taught that awareness is alchemy. When you name the shadow, you strip it of its power. When you own your truth, no one can edit your reality again. You are not here to be controlled. You are here to awaken, to remember, to rise. And the deeper your self-knowledge, the stronger your energetic field becomes. This is how you shift from being the manipulated to being the master of your inner world. If this activated something deep in you, honor that signal. Like this video, share it with someone ready to reclaim their power, and subscribe to the Cosmic Awakening channel, where hidden truths are not just revealed, but remembered.